then it's time to counter it." Titus had been told the truth in the dispatch which fetched him back from his military duties. How Flaminus, the corrupt and corpulent governor of Illyricum, had, through his rapacity, caused an uprising amongst the locals, and, through his ineptitude, had allowed them to combine with Dacian tribesmen from beyond the borders of the province to create a full-blown revolt. Aulus Cornelius had headed a senatorial commission to investigate Vegetius and his gubernatorial record. On seeing the depth of his fellow senators' depredations, rapacious taxation, open bribery, and fiscal chicanery, as well as the way his army, more accustomed to labouring than soldiering, had ceased to be effective, he had superseded him. The legion in Illyricum, the 10th, Aulus had brought back to fighting capacity by good training and personal example, till a rebellion that had festered for years seemed to peter out. No sooner had Illyricum been made peaceful than yet another revolt started to the south, in the neighbouring Roman province of Epirus, one which the 10th Legion, the nearest large military force, was obliged to suppress. At the head of an advanced guard, and seeking to contain what he thought was a local uprising, Aulus Cornelius had discovered the truth of what he faced, an enemy army large enough to give full battle. He sent back for reinforcements, but Flaminus had declined to throw them forward, leaving Aulus isolated with his reconnaissance cohort at a narrow gorge called the Pass of Thrallaxus, forced to fight and take casualties before he was truly ready. Had he and his men been supported, as they should have been, their situation would not have been grave. But by his actions, the titular governor had condemned to death those who could not flee. Even when it was clear that no help was coming, Aulus could have left the danger with a clear conscience. It was no part of a Roman general's duties to be cut off from his command, but, typically, he would not abandon the men he had led into this death trap to save his own skin. "The rest of the commission," Claudia interrupted Titus, "lily-livered apologists for Flaminus, or nonentities who would dearly love to bask in the reflected glory of his forthcoming triumph. Your father was the only upright man on the commission he led. The rest are wolves like Vegetius, or sheep too frightened to bleat the truth." As they talked, the steady hum of the crowd gathering in the pre-dawn darkness outside the house had grown, with the odd shout from an impatient mourner penetrating the walls. Some of those gathered would have been drinking and have joined the spectators in the hope that the new head of the Corneli family would chuck some coinage at their feet. It was the way of the funeral rites of the wealthy, which were as much a celebration of a life lived as a grieving over loss. A slave appeared to inform them that Quintus was ready to begin with prayers to Manes, the god of deceased loved ones, at the family altar. Titus and Claudia pulled cowls over their heads, then made their way to the small chapel off the atrium, home to the Corneli Lares, the repository of the family genius. The overseer nearly got Aquila. In place before dawn, Nikos had changed his tactics, staying still and waiting for the poacher to appear in the deepest part of the wood, rather than trying to track him as he hunted, snaring the small game and spearing the larger, stealing what was not rightfully his from the fenced-off land belonging to Cassius Barbinus. He and the men he led made sure they were downwind of their quarry, so that when the boy stopped well short of the first of his traps, he was not sure why. It was the lack of noise in a place that should not be silent. Such a thing signified a threat. Remaining still, he saw no birds fly nor land in the trees, and a search of the morning sky showed no hawks or kestrels, not even a high-flying eagle. If no birds sang in the woods, nor were staying still for fear of a flying hunter, that meant there was something else present, something large enough to command a hush. Slowly and silently he backed away, watching with care where he placed his sandaled feet on a forest floor thick with